So today what we're going to talk about is some smart lists and some month-end close information. So let me just there it goes. All right. So we're going to talk about lists versus smart lists to begin with. So in smart list in GP, you're allowed to grab data from specific views that Microsoft has provided, and you can push those out into static Excel workbooks and things like that. We'll go through how that works inside both GP and inside Business Central. Once we're in there, we can show a couple of other things. There's an open in Excel and an edit in Excel in Business Central, which is something that GP doesn't have. Allows you to edit non-audit fields, and we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about how that moves through from a reporting point of view, so it can replace a lot of what you use currently in SmartLists. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about month-end reports. We're going to talk about trial balances, aged payables, aged receivables in order to get your subledgers to balance up properly. And then we'll talk a little bit about bank rec. And that should pretty well cover us off for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then we'll have some time at the end for some questions. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show. So what I've got on my screen here is I've got Business Central here from Fabricam Corp. And this is a converted GP database. So this is a database that I brought from Fabricam in GP, which is the same as this company here, Fabricam here. So the data is very similar. A lot of the transactions are exactly the same. They're now currently a little bit out of sync because I've been using both demos for my demo. So I've got more data in some than the other, but pretty well the same kind of information that we've got, same dates and things like that. We're dealing with 2027 here in Fabricam because that's what Microsoft automatically moves your sample company to. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So let's talk a bit about SmartLists. So this is the one that everybody loves inside GP. And this is one of the best features of GP has been its piece inside here. So when we do something like this and we look at a chart of accounts and we go into our finance here and we've got account transactions and accounts and things like that. And I can click my account summary and things like that. It'll show me the different periods. I can click my accounts and it shows me my different accounts inside here. And then I've also got my transactions inside here. I've got my debits and my credits, and these are all the transactions. And this is going to count to 1,000 and then stop. This can then count up. And as we all know and love about SmartList is that it is not super speedy. It tends to be a little on the slow side when it comes to exporting data. You do 10 or 20,000 records, it takes some time to bring it out to Excel. Inside here, I can very easily, if I wanted to see these transactions inside Excel, all I do is hit the Excel button here, and it counts backwards like this. And this is where I say to people, you got 10,000 records, you start the lookup, it starts looking up 10,000 records, you go and get yourself a donut, you bring it back to your desk, you hit the Excel button, then you go get the coffee to go with the donut. And that way you're ready to go. Then it automatically opens up Excel for you, and then you can write pivot tables and things like that against this particular thing. And it should pop up in a second. It's just taking its time doing that. Now, in Business Central, what we do is we do it slightly differently. So this is basically what we got from that. There it is there. And no, I don't want to close that. No, remove the files. Okay, that's fine. There we are. So there it is there, and this is a list of all the transactions. This is what you would expect. And again, inside your smart list, you're allowed to add columns, and you're allowed to rearrange the columns, and you can add them around. You can add different pieces inside here. We can come in here and go, I want the account index as well, and I want the category, the account description. How about we take the originating master name, for instance. The originating master name. There we are. We go OK. And we go OK. And now it's going to add that field over here. And then I can re-extract it out. And these are the different companies that have been sold to. That's basically what it's showing. So that's kind of a standard style smart list that we can do inside GP. GP's got some very good functionality in this area, and it works very well with Excel. For some reason, it also puts it out to Microsoft Word. I don't know a single client that has ever dumped it out to Word. I'm not sure why you would, but most people want it out in Excel for that purposes. Other things that you can do, there are some other things inside SmartList that you can do, which are quite nice. So that's kind of what we're looking at from that point of view inside here. Now, when I flip over to Business Central here, there it goes. When I click on Business Central and I go into my chart of accounts inside here, I get a list. So inside here, I got a list. I got my net change, I got my balance and things like that. Got all kinds of different pieces of information. So from here, I can then filter these out. So I can add filters and things like that, just like I could in under the search criteria in SmartList. I could add search criteria. Inside here, I can add a view, and I can store my views in here. Think of these as your favorites that you've currently got set up inside SmartList. And that way you can have your different lists. So for instance, I'm going to just grab the revenue accounts because I don't need to bring the whole chart of accounts out. There it is there. There's my revenue accounts. That's fine. It's got some numbers in there. If I go to all is fine from a speed point of view because it is much, much quicker than it is in Excel. In SmartList. So inside here, I've got all my GL codes like so. And if I click on this inside here, up here, there's a share a page. I can open it in Excel and I can edit it in Excel. So I'm going to quickly open it in Excel. There's my chart of accounts file right there. I just hit the open file and it will open up Excel, which it has done. And it opens on a second screen for me. So I have to bring this across. So there we are there. So there it is there. There it is there. And as you can see inside here, I've got all these different fields inside here that I've got on the list. Got my net change, my balance, my debit amount, my credit amount, and things like that. So I've got all the information that I need in the same kind of thing. And this one has done a large amount of data from this point of view. Now, at this point here, we can enable the editing here as well. Here we are. So now I can make some changes to it, and and this would then be I could write a pivot table or do whatever it is that I require to be done on this particular format. So which is good. So that gives me the same kind of information, but it doesn't give me any more flexibility. So basically what we do here is I'm just going to quickly close this, and now I'm going to go back to here, and instead of opening it in Excel, I'm going to edit it in Excel. So when I hit the edit in Excel, it comes up with the GL account card. It's a slightly different one. I'm going to open the file. And again, it's going to open probably on a different screen. There it is there. I'll bring it across. And I'm going to go enable editing. And when I enable the editing, what this does is this adds a connector inside here, and it refreshes the data. So this is a full refreshable database. So if I come down to here and go petty cash Dawn, I'm going to just take the Dawn out because I put it in here so that I could remove it. And I'm also going to take it out of here. So I'm changing 2 fields. Now you'll see here that as I move across these fields, over here on the right-hand side, it says field account category. As I move across, you can see the name of the fields. When I hit a balance field or a auditable field, it goes red. And that means that I cannot change it. I can try changing it. I can type a number in here in Excel, but it will not write that data back to Business Central. Right now, what it's going to write back is it's going to take off the word Dawn off the chart of accounts, and it's going to put in just petty cash. And then down on the right-hand side at the bottom, there is a publish as well as a refresh. So if I was to hit refresh right now, which I'll do right now, there have been changes that will be overwritten. I go, yes, I know that. And what will happen is that it now says petty cash Dawn again. So I can get rid of the petty cash Dawn. And I can also go over to petty cash Dawn here and change the name of the name there. And now when I hit publish, it's going to publish those, and it writes successfully updated. The publish was successful. Now my database now says petty cash like this without Dawn at the end. So it gives you much more flexibility in that regard. It also gives you a lot more fields on the edit in Excel. It gives you almost all the fields that are available to you. You can inside here add new ones and change them and things like that, and add additional fields and link other tables together. And you can store this, and you can bring this up without having to go back into Business Central to do this. I can save this, open this at any time, and hit the refresh. It will go out and get the data again, and it's a live link. So it gives you that ability to quickly create a live linked file. Very, very, very nice and easy to use from that point of view. So we've got that. Everything because Business Central is an online database, everything is downloaded. So everything ends up in your download icon up here in the I'm using Microsoft Edge, but you can use Chrome. You can use Safari and Firefox if you really want to. It does work the best in Edge because it's a Microsoft product interfacing with a Microsoft product. So I tend to use the Edge for that reason. Okay. So that basically is how we get our information from SmartList. And we've gone through how we can open things in Excel. So if I now go down to here, you'll see it says petty cash down here because I haven't refreshed the screen. Anytime on these ones inside here, if I go into my petty cash here, I can drill down on this. And it gives me all the transactions. And these give me my divisions and my departments because it's a dimensional chart of accounts. And again, right here, I can edit and open this in Excel exactly the same way. Now I get something that would be there from there. So I can now use that. When I go back here, and I refresh page 5. Yes. There we are. So basically, it's telling me that something hadn't been refreshed, and you'll see that petty cash has been changed. And if I go into here, the search name has also been changed here. And I can change it back just by adding it in here. So instead of having to go one by one, we can do that. This is very important on things like customers and vendors and things like that, where you've got addresses and maybe your state/province has been listed incorrectly. So you've got, instead of British Columbia, you've got B.C. on some of them, and you've got BC, and then you've got B space C, and then you've got British Columbia as well. So you've got all four. You can dump out your whole chart, your whole list of vendors, and you can go in and fix them all in Excel, and then publish them all back in, and they'd all be back to what they should be, which is BC. So that would be kind of something that you could easily do inside here. So there we are. So that's, and this is out of a chart of accounts. That also works as well. For instance, so if I go into my purchasing inside here and I hit my vendors, we go like so. I have a full list inside here. I can get rid of the fact pane box. It's got my balances in local currency. It's got payments in local currencies. And then I can go in and I can make some edits to this. I can change this screen. What's on the screen is what goes out to Excel. So when I open it in Excel, it takes whatever's on this screen. And on this screen, I can actually go into my personalize here. And I can add fields. So I got, all the fields that I need to add are going to be listed here. So I can add the different things. I don't have a city on here, but I could easily add the city. Put the city right there. That sounds like a good place to put it, like so. And we will show. Here we are. And now when I go back and I go done, and now when I look at it, I have the city and where they came from. So I can do that. And then I can dump, when I dump this out to Excel and open it in Excel, that city will be on there. I can put different pieces of information in here. So this replaces a lot of what SmartList does, gives you balances and things like that. Again, all these things are drillable by this. So when you look at your vendor list, you can drill down and see how much you need. Very much like the account transactions that you do inside GP. All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention about the GP side is, of course, that you can do your search criteria, and you've got 4 search criteria here that you can use, and you can add as what you need. So if I go to my vendors inside here, let me just go down to purchasing, and we'll go to vendors. When I look at my vendor list here, that's weird. Oh. Oh, let me try sales. We can do customers. So underneath your customers, we've got this, and I can then go into my search and criteria, things like that I can do. Surprised that my vendors don't work. There we are. That's a very interesting little piece. So there's the vendor list inside here. And if I wanted to add, I've got the city already listed here when I dump it out to Excel. But I can go into here and I can say, give me, all of my states that are Illinois, like so. There we are. And that just gives me a filter. And that's the same as what I get when I'm in Business Central. I've got my vendor list, which is what I've got here. I can look at this. I can now go into my filter. Here I add the filters, and then I can filter the list by name, city, whatever it is that I need to filter by, address 1, address 2, etc. So I can go into here and I can filter it based on, you can filter based on the state. I'll filter it on the city, and I'll just use Chicago. There we are. So these are all my Chicagos. I haven't added the state onto this screen here, but there's all your Chicagos. And again, this list is very, very similar to the list that we just saw inside Business Central. You'll see there's all those Chicagos, Allison Properties, American, Attractive, etc. So this is the same basic data as you can see right here. So there it is there. So that gives you both, and again, you can dump them both out to Excel and do more analysis on them. The advantage of Business Central in some cases is that you do get the balances automatically as part of this, whereas you don't get the balances unless you ask for them inside here. So I can add, but I can ask for them. So it's very, very similar from that regard. Okay. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is month-end reports. So what I mentioned is that we've got trial balances, we've got aged receivables and aged payables. And inside GP, let me just minimize my Excel. I'll close my SmartList. So in order to do a receivable, accounts receivable report that you can balance your month end to, we have to go out to our reports and our trial balance, which is how we do this. We have two options inside here. We have the age trial balance with options and the historical age trial balance. If you do a cutoff where you don't enter anything for the next month, you can use the age trial balance with options. Otherwise, you need to use the historical so that you can cut out, so you can issue a check on the second of the month and not affect your prior month's month end. I'm going to use the historical trial balance here, and I'm going to give it a new one. And I'm just going to type in demo 1. So it's a different piece. And then inside here, I'm going to go customer. That's fine. I'm going to sort this as 043027. There it is there. I'm not going to consolidate my national account activity and things like that. I'm in receivables. So I got GL posting date. Of course, I want to do it based on the GL posting date so that it ties back to my general ledger. And then down at the bottom here, I can then restrict the date range inside here from date to date, and I'm going to put in 043027. There we are. And we hit the insert, and now that gives me a new piece. Now I've got it in detail listed here. I'm going to do it in detail, but you can also do it in summary. But you do run separate reports for detail and summary. So when I go destination, I'm going to put it to a screen so I don't kill a tree. And we'll go like so, and then we're going to hit the print button, which will then generate a report. And there is the report. So this is kind of, okay, this is great. This shows me all the detail information. It's showing me my multi-currency if I've got any. And then I go down from here and I can see all my different customers that owe me money. So I'm happy with this. I've got everything's in the current amount. Most of it's in the current. Some of it's in 30, 60, 90, whatever it happens to be. So as I scroll to the very bottom of this report, go to the very bottom, I get a grand total of $2 million. There's current, there's some 31 to 60 and some 91 plus. This guy's doing a pretty good job on his collections. So basically what we've got is everything is now done from that point of view. And we've got all of our detail information inside the historical age trial balance. And this is showing the ones that are have not been zeroed out. So these are the non-zero transactions. So what we do on that one, let me just pop onto this one here. So inside here, what we do is we run an aged accounts payable. So we've got aged accounts payable, and we've got reports and analysis and things like that. And we're going to show all 18. So we've got a couple of different possibilities inside here. We've got the aged payables. So we've got, oh, just go aged. Whoops. So we've got different ones inside here. And we've got an aged payables in Excel as well as an aged payable. So when I click on the aged payables, I get a report. So inside here, I've got a due date. I've got a date inside here. I'm going to put 04/30/27 so that it matches up. There we are there. And then I can hit the print button like so. It's going to take it a second, and it's going to print a report. It prints it to PDF. There's the report. And I'm just showing summary. I didn't ask for the detail, but it gives you all the information. But this is in a PDF. The problem is most of us don't want it in a PDF. What we want it in is we'd much rather have it inside our, if I go to Fabricam, if I go into here and I go aged payables, now I've got aged accounts payable. There it is there. If I show all 6, I have the aged payable, open a spreadsheet that shows the accounts payable data. So I click on this one here, comes up like this. I've already run this morning, so there it is there. And I hit the download. So now I'm going to hit the download instead. So now it grabs this, and I'm going to open the file. And again, it's opening on a secondary screen. So I'm going to bring this across from here. I'm going to enable the editing, and then I will just maximize it. There it is there. And then when I enable the content, I get my transactions. Now, the nice thing about this is what Microsoft has done is they have given you a nice, easy to use piece. So this is all the transactions that are outstanding for all of my vendors, exactly as just as the other one, nicely listed inside Excel. Now, we also have it by period. So there it is by period. That's my summary. I can separate it by department and division code as well as by, if I only wanted to see Allison and I wanted, if I hold the control key down, I can hit multiple ones inside here, or I can hit this and go like so. There it is there. I can hit what I need. I have it by, this is by FCY, which is functional currency. So this gives me it all in my functional currency, and in my BC database, everything's in one currency, in Canadian dollars. And then, so that's what I've got inside here. If I had multiple, it would be there. This is due by currency, so now you can see it by currency. So it'll show you currency as well as the total. So it gives you both. And then there's some information about the report as well as to where it's hooked up to and things like that. You can save this and then use this as a month-end procedure. A lot easier to use than the printed report that you get out of GP, where if you do to try to put it into Excel, you have to kind of push it out and then kind of figure out a way of getting it into the right columns. But inside here, we've got all of the different pieces inside here. And I can then sort by due date and things like that, and document dates and things like that. So they've got all that information. The date retrieved is sitting here. It's the local request date, as well as the age as of date. So it's a very nice report from that point of view, but it does give you some more information on each of these. I'm just going to close that. I'm not going to save it. And then if I'm inside here, I can do exactly the same thing. Aged accounts receivable preview. They have moved it from this one here into the preview because of that. So we go to the preview. Like so. Again, I've got the same date. We hit the download. And we open the file. And then obviously it's on a different screen as usual. And we go, enable the editing. Oh. And there's all the information. And again, we've got exactly the same thing listed underneath here by currency, by period, and things like that. So it's much easier to balance to your general ledger and things like that. The accounts payable and the accounts receivable does exactly the same thing as what it does inside GP. It actually does a sequencing so that it removes the transactions that are not required. So that allows you to balance your accounts payable and your accounts receivable, and quite easily at that point because of the way that it works from that point of view. So when I click back onto my GP, in order to do that same thing in purchasing, obviously we would go into our reports, hit the trial balance, hit the historical one, and make sure that now I have to make sure that this one's closed because I need to make sure that I can get through, that it will actually calculate. This is showing me my US and Canadian. Now that it's been closed, I can grab demo, I can modify it, and I'll just leave it as it is right there, and I will just go print. Good. There it is there. There's my age. There it is there, 61 and over. So I've got a lot of stuff inside there because I think the age date I used was 215 instead of 412. There we are. And then, of course, that can be dumped out. And then, but in order to do a smart list or anything else like that, you got to close your screens all the time inside GP. You do not need to do that when you download. You can download as many times as you like. So as you go through this and we look at this inside here, you can see these are the ones that I've done today. And you can clear these out, but I can open up the receivable. There's the payables is there as well. And you'll see down here, I've also got the payables and the receivables from earlier today when I was testing to make sure that it would work. So there we are there. So that's what we've got there. Now, other things that we've got, we do have a trial balance. So this is a trial balance inside here. We want the actual changes. We want the actual balances. And we want comparison. We'll do comparisons. And then we'll go like so. And the comparison is this year versus last year. And we can hit the print button inside here, or we can hit the print. Oops, I forgot to put a date in, didn't I? I did forget to put a date in. Trial balance. You can open up a spreadsheet. Oh, it's got the preview. They just changed that. New release. Trial balance preview. So what they're doing is they're starting to dump these things out directly into Excel in all these areas in order for you to do this. The date filter is 12/31/27. That seems like a reasonable one from there. And we've got, what have we got? Account number. I don't want to filter in the account number, so I should be fine. I should be able to hit the download. And then it should run through. Inside GP, I'll pop back to GP while that's working on there. When we go into our trial balance, we go into our financial, and we go to reports, and we go trial balance. Oops. Come on. Financial, reports, trial balance, and we got detail and summary. And worksheet if you wish. So some people use the worksheet, some people use the detail and summary. This allows you to print out detailed transactions for your individual accounts. Again, it puts it out to a format that is a text file. You can get it into a text file, which is more difficult to get in, or you run it through your smart list and dump it out that way. So when I pop back to my, it's not liking me today. Yes, I will do that. I don't have time for that. I didn't put a filter on it, but you would then be able to get that particular piece. The other thing you can do, of course, is that if you are looking for a single trial balance for a GL code, all you have to do is go into the account. If I wanted to see all the transactions for payroll inside here, there they are there, and then I can dump them out to Excel easily by hitting the open in Excel. And then general ledger entries, we can open that file. And it'll probably open, oh, there it is. It didn't open on a different screen, open on that screen. Wonderful, there we are. So there's all your transactions. And in order to do that in GP, you would then have to go back to your to GP. The only way to get that out nicely into Excel is to go into here and go into payroll and go financial and account transactions. We'll just bring up the debits and the credits. We hit the columns and oops, cancel. And then we hit the search. And we put together an account number. And we would put in an account number of, let me use, I'll just use that one, because I know that that one exists. And that one will bring them all my cash transactions. It counts up, as I said, waiting 546 transactions. We hit Excel, we dump it out. Now this is showing all the transactions from the beginning of time. So there it is there. And then we've got ourselves an Excel spreadsheet with that information for that single account. If I wanted to do that in Business Central for that same account, I used 1100. This one here. There's all your transactions and you hit the Excel button. So that basically does that. The last piece that I wanted to kind of mention was the differential in the bank rec. I did cover this in a bank rec one as well, but I did want to mention that all the bank transactions to match them forward. We do allow on the chart of accounts inside both GP and Business Central, when you look at your chart of accounts and you look at an account, so this is attached to a bank book, I can turn off direct posting. And when I turn off direct posting, it means that it doesn't get posted. It can't be posted unless you do a bank transaction that will affect the bank itself. Inside GP, when I do that, let me just minimize a couple of these and close that. When I go into my cards and the account, you do have the same functionality. If I go into 1100, right here, you can allow account entry or not allow account entry. So that does the same thing. So both systems do that kind of information for you from that point of view. Okay. All right. So I think that was all I needed to cover today. There is other reports, of course. When you look at all the reports inside GP, they're all listed underneath here. When I go to Business Central and look for reports, the reports are all listed underneath all reports. And then you can pick which ones you want inside here. There is some built-in Power BI, which I do not have operational today, but inside here, you got Analyze Inventory by Location. You have a number of different reports inside here. Your payables, for instance, is here. Reports, there are 18 separate reports inside here. And then from there, we've also got some Excel information as well. Financial reporting, this is where your financial statements come from as well. But your financial statements, your entries, and your setup lists and things like that. You have 12 Excel reports. These are all Excel reports. There's the trial balance preview. That's where we were before. Age accounts receivable, age accounts payable. These are all in a preview. These are how to pull them all directly into Excel. You can use the Excel reports inside Microsoft Dynamics GP as well, which is the other one. And some people will use those. So when I go to sales and I go to Excel reports, it takes it a second to build this list. And there's there. And now when I click on my customer list inside here, or I click on my customer default, let me click the customer default one, and let me grab the one that's a report, not a. So if I double click this, it creates enable content. This one creates a linked report so that if I go into here and I do this and I delete these transactions, when I go up to data and I hit refresh, it'll put them all back. It doesn't let you publish any information from here back to GP, but it does actually get the data out. And these are available for the standard SmartLists as well. So there's the Excel reports as well. And so a lot of people use that. The one thing that we can't get out to Excel easily is we cannot get out the historical age trial balances because they are not available inside the Excel reports, and they come out as a text file.